Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel. Zach Lesage here. We're going to be doing the Metafy Regionals top 8 deck list because there was a top 8 cut. I know a lot of peeps are used to getting the top 16 deck list. I know it's really cool. It's one of those things where I'd much rather go over the list that are making top cut at this point, especially when the metagame's so similar. There are a lot of decks out here. I heavily invite you to check out this event. Lots of great players, crazy names like Tord Recklove at 9th place, so you can look through all those own decks, and I will be covering all the top decks on my channel, but we are going to be switching over to this new thing of whatever the top cut is, and late night series are also going to be switching to top 8 as well. I hope that peeps don't view it as a downgrade. I'm still just trying to cover the metagame, and not necessarily like just go down, like it's one of those things where I just want to cover the top cut. I think as the top cut changes and approaches more of what a regional structure is, there's only so much that we could cover. We're going to be moving into top 8 with Turo Slab. Turo Slab playing VMAX. Definitely successful deck in the format. So VMAX is all going to be about cross fusion strike. You're able to go over and you can choose whatever attacks you want. Basically, you could copy Technoblast, Melodious Echo, even Glistening Droplets. In this case, this deck is just going to be trying to copy Technoblast or Melodious Echo most of the times, being very aggressive with boss's orders. Bring up your opponent's Pokemon. I really like the options that it has in this list. I like the Rotom Phones. I like a lot of things. Choice Belt that allows you to do a lot of extra damage, and Power Tablet also allows you to reach new heights as well. So that's really how this deck's working out. To me, it looks like a really basic version of Mew. They are only playing a 3-2 Mew, not a 4-3 Mew. That extra space looks like it's the Fog Crystals and Rotom Phones. A lot of players nowadays are running 3 double turbos for Fusion Strike, or at least that's what it is this week, after Natalie Miller was able to win. So this to me looks a little bit more like a normalized Mew list instead of a new age Mew list. Not really any issues or anything with that at all. I think it looks like a great list. I really don't like 3-2. I'd rather much see 4-3, but maybe they have their reasons for it. It's something that we'll have to check out. So moving on, to number 7, we have Monkey playing Arceus Inteleon. So you can see that a lot of the metagame is looking very similar. That's something that you might want to be considering if you are playing one of these decks. These are the type of decks at the top of the tournaments. There might be a reason why. They're playing Arceus V-Star Inteleon. So this deck's all about using Trinity Charge or Trinity Nova to accelerate energies to Arceus, or basically to Arceus. That's the only Pokemon you can. You do have the opportunity to accelerate more energies with Melanie, and you only need a Melanie here just so you could go double turbo Melanie, search it out with Starbirth, make that all happen. We have access to Inteleon that is just quick shooting around, or using shady dealings to search out whatever you're looking for. So this deck has a lot of consistency towards it. Even Keep Calling is a strong attack on your first turn of the game. It does play Attack Dunsparce for any fighting type matchups. I think that's something that you probably could cut out of the deck nowadays. You also have access to Farfetch, so after you do some damage to your opponent's Pokemon, you can punish them with its attack. Path to the Peak, Charon's Care means that this deck's going to try to stay alive forever. With 208 HP with a big charm, it does put it to 310. It's the same HP as a Mew VMAX, except it's only worth 1 less prize card. It's worth 2 prize cards instead of 3 prize cards. So you can actually attack with 3 Arceus V-Stars in a game. I think that this strategy has been executed very well after Logan McKay was able to come second at the Late Night Series event last week. That's really what pushed this deck over the edge. So I think a lot of players are just going to try to mimic that success and play this deck. So great job to Monkey over there. We do have Aral98 playing Mew VMAX. We're going to see if there's any differences between the Mew VMAX list. This one just playing a 3-3 Mew VMAX list, not playing 4-3 or anything else like that. So it's one of those things where really looking like a normal list, a lot of lists were just running 2 Psychics, 1 Double Turbo, or even 2 Psychics, 2 Double Turbos. Again, I think a lot of the lists are trying to change to just 3 Double Turbos nowadays and maybe cutting the Fog Crystals, but I really don't see any issues with this list at all. It looks absolutely great for basically what most Mew VMAX lists look like. We're going to be jumping into another Mew VMAX list, Juancho S. You can see that again, we're seeing very similar lists. So this one's going to be playing another 3-3 Mew VMAX list. Really, a lot of these decks were just running really low Mew counts. Really bizarre in a lot of ways. Maybe it's better to start with something else. You can see that this version played Echoing Horn. That's coming incredibly more common in these decks. So it is one of those things where Echoing Horn might be a really good idea to just kind of bring up one of your opponent's Pokemon back, rip it up with boss's orders, and go through it. So I like that tech in this deck. That you can see that all these decks are very similar, yet they have their own unique techs. We're going to be moving on to Sirschnitz playing another Mew list. So 3-2 Mew. This one's playing Switching Cups. Switching Cups allows you to put the card on top of the deck. You could Rotom Phone, get it. It also allows you to kind of build your hand up, so you could use Fusion Strike System. Like, it takes the cards up, so you could draw more cards. I think Switching Cups is really cool. And it does add elements of depth into this deck. It has fallen out of favor in the metagame, but it could be good here. So overall, a pretty solid choice. We are going to be moving on to our number 3. You can see we covered a lot of Mew VMAX so far, but we will be covering over everything else. We do see Patricia Welch's 3rd place list. And I think that the Mew, like, this is my favorite list out of all of them because it's what resembles the most modern day Mew version after Natalie Miller's win. So this one's going to be going with 3 double turbo energies, so you could just use Cross Fusion Strike. It's very much like attack, boss, boss. It allows you to kind of have that spring to your step to jump back into a game. So if you have a Mew V in play or a Mew V Max in play, no energies, you no longer have to use Ellis Sparkle. You can just grab a double turbo energy, slap it on, boss's orders, knock out your opponent's Pokemon. Especially against dark type decks, that does allow you to just kind of beat up your opponent real quick. It really adds up a lot. So it's one of those things that I just like seeing here. I really don't see any issues with it. It's something that I definitely think that this is a very modern version of the list. The Rotom Phones have not been working for me. I have played this list in very similar lists, but it is something that you might want to change for yourself if it is something that like you're not necessarily feeling, but maybe it's going to be working out for you. We are going to see our first newest deck in a minute. That's going to be another Arceus V-Star deck. However, this deck is going to be playing the Yveltal and the Galarian Moltres. So Juan Andre really bringing a lot of cool cards to the Arceus V-Star build, and I do think that's incredibly... It's awesome. I love seeing all these different cards getting added to the build. And I think that maybe Galarian Moltres does allow you to beat the Mew matchup. Maybe it does allow you to go a little bit further here or there. So instead of playing things like just colorless text, there is room to be playing the dark energies, because you could just go Capacious Bucket, Quick Ball, Melanie, attack. So I do like that there is like this Galarian Moltres in the deck. It's not the biggest function of the deck, it's not the biggest strategy of the deck, but it is an Arceus V-Star deck, and they did manage to fit that in there. So it's something that I would heavily consider if you are playing Arceus V-Star. Test this to see if it beats Mew VMAX, especially before upcoming events like Salt Lake City Regionals and other things going on there. Last but not least, we will be jumping into our absolute champion at the Metafy event. That is Giovanni Paragallo playing Jolteon VMAX, the big surprise of the event. A lot of people considered Jolteon VMAX to be a dead deck, but it's all about Max Thunder Rumble to the active, 100 damage to the bench, as long as you just go Zigzagoons, Headbutt Tantrum, or you go Quick Shooting. Deck really, it doesn't even contain any Brilliant Stars cards. The deck was the number 2 deck in our Fusion Strike format for like 3-4 months, right behind Mew the whole time. But here it is, number 1, about a month, just like a month after Brilliant Stars release, maybe just 3 weeks after Brilliant Stars release. I'm kind of lost in time here. A lot of players thought that this deck wouldn't work because Metafy was released in Brilliant Stars. Does have some kind of bench barrier-esque ability, blocking that bench damage. No one's really playing it. No one's really playing Rapid Strike Urshifu, or really fighting decks for that reason. Path is still incredibly strong against Mew VMAX, so there's a lot of things that are just like kind of good about playing Jolteon VMAX. Now I think now players might play Malamar, or they might play Manaphy in their Malamar list, or they might play it in their Dark Toolbox list, or even taking in an Arceus and Teleon list. It looked like while watching the grand finals that this deck was just able to go through an Arceus and Teleon build no problems. Maybe it just like quick enough for those 2 prize card decks where they might not have enough to really hold it back. And Path to the Peak quite often gets locked into play. They can't use Starbirth, they got Marnied, their deck just kind of crumbles. So in terms of a metagame call, this could certainly be real. I think that it might spike up and then dip down a little bit. Maybe it's just going to spike up and just stay within our mid top 10. I don't think it's going to surpass Mew. I don't think it's going to surpass Arceus and Teleon. But it does seem like it is going to shoot up a little bit. In the top rankings this week, it did make number 6. So I do think it is incredibly an inventive play from Giovanni to bring it to this event, and it's absolutely amazing to see it in its glory. What do you think about it? Do you think it's going to be doing well? We are going to look over the champions matchups to see what they did. So they did have a very strong 7-0 start. Arceus Duraludon, Sylveon Arceus, the Dark Box, Gengar, Arceus, Mew, Suicune Ludicolo. They tied against a Gengar. I probably would have played that one out. Then they lost against a Mew. I think that's fine. Then they went undefeated Arceus and Teleon, Arceus and Teleon, Arceus and Teleon. Very good matchup against Arceus. They went 6-0 against it. Then they tied Mew, beat Mew, then beat Arceus and Teleon. This deck does pretty well against an unsuspecting Mew and beats Arceus and Teleon. It might be a better play. I hope that everyone enjoyed watching this video. I know it's a little bit of a shorter one and we went through everything quickly, but that's what's going to happen when you have a Mew and Arceus metagame, right? But if you are trying to pick up any of these cards, go to ptcgostore.com, plug in code ZELASAGE5 to save 5% on your next order of codes. You can also go to atlascollectibles.com, plug in code ZELASAGE8 to save 8% off your next order of codes. You could also go to metafy.gg/@ZachLassage, pick up some coaching. I do want to give another huge shout out for Metafy for sponsoring this event and allowing me to run it. Really excited to see what can happen in the future with us, but meanwhile, we just got to appreciate all the opportunities we got. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'll catch up with all y'all later. Peace out and have a great day.